Severe weather warnings across Queensland, a developing tropical low, widespread thunderstorms, flash flooding possible. That is what we're looking at over the next several days. I've examined the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, compared multiple forecast models, and analysed the current atmospheric setup. What is developing is a significant weather event that deserves your attention, particularly if you are anywhere from central Queensland through to the southeast. Right now, conditions across Queensland couldn't have been more varied, and it is worth understanding where we're restarting from before we get into where this system is heading. Mount Carbine in far north Queensland hit 30 degrees this morning at 10:30. Humidity sitting at 85%. Minimum overnight was 26 degrees. They copped an hour of heavy rain last night. That warm, moist tropical air mass is well established across the north. Brisbane and the Gold Coast have been dealing with heat and humidity all week. 35 degrees forecasted for the Gold Coast on Sunday. That is a proper scorcher for this time of year. The combination of heat and moisture is creating an unstable atmosphere. Compare that to the southern interior. Carcar in New South Wales saw a top of 26 degrees today with an overnight minimum of 14. Clear blue skies with only small periodic clouds moving through. That cooler, drier air to the south is important for what's about to develop. The contrast between the tropical warmth up north and the cooler conditions to the south is setting up a classic convergence zone. And that is where our attention needs to be. Let me walk you through the meteorological setup, because understanding the mechanics helps explain why this system has the potential to be significant. We've got a surface trough extending from the interior of Queensland out towards the Coral Sea. That trough is deepening. The latest from the Bureau shows a tropical low pressure system developing along this trough over the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, the key question is where this low develops and how it tracks. The Access model and the European model are showing reasonable agreement on the broader pattern, but there is still some divergence on the exact track and intensity. Both models indicate the low will form somewhere in the central Queensland coastal waters or just inland. The Access model is favouring a position slightly further north around the Mackay to Townsville region. The European model suggests development closer to the Capricornia coast. This matters because the track determines who gets the heaviest rainfall and where the severe weather focus will be. The upper level analysis shows a trough aloft positioned across eastern Australia. This is providing the lift needed for thunderstorm development. We've also got good wind shear in place across southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales. That shear is critical for organised storm development. Wind shear is essentially the change in wind speed or direction with height. When you've got strong shear, thunderstorms can become more severe. They can produce large hail, damaging winds, and in some cases, isolated tornadoes. The shear forecast for Monday across southeast Queensland is increasing. My assessment puts it at around 40 to 50% chance that conditions become favourable for supercell development. The question many of you are asking, how likely is it that this wind shear actually materialises? At this point in time, based on the model consensus and the current upper level pattern, I do say it is likely enough to warrant close monitoring. Not a certainty, but definitely a concern. Let me break down the timeline and regional impacts, because this affects different areas at different times. Saturday through Sunday, the focus is on building instability across central and southeast Queensland. The tropical low is beginning to organise. Scattered thunderstorms will develop across inland areas of central Queensland and the Wide Bay region. Some of these storms could be severe, producing heavy rainfall, large hail and damaging wind gusts. Rainfall totals for Saturday and Sunday across central Queensland. Expect 50 to 100 millimetres in storm-affected areas. Isolated locations could see 150 to 200 millimetres if storms track over the same areas repeatedly. That is a fair bit of rain in a short period. For those in Gladstone and the surrounding areas, you've already seen some atmospheric phenomena this week. Some spotted the aurora australis looking south around 9 p.m. Gorgeous display. But now attention turns to the weather overhead. Scattered to widespread storms expected Sunday into Monday. Sunday night into Monday is when things intensify for southeast Queensland and the Gold Coast region. The tropical low will likely be positioned offshore or near the coast. This brings moisture streaming onshore, enhancing thunderstorm development Monday daytime across southeast Queensland from Brisbane south to the Gold Coast, inland to Toowoomba and the Darling Downs. Severe thunderstorms are likely. The combination of heat, moisture and increasing wind shear creates an environment conducive to supercells. What does that mean practically? Large hail is possible. We re-talking golf ball to baseball-sized hail in the most extreme storms. Damaging winds with gusts potentially exceeding 100 kilometres per hour in the strongest cells. localised flash flooding in areas of repeated storm activity. If you are on the Gold Coast, I know some of you are already taking this seriously. One comment mentioned boarding up windows. That might be a touch early and perhaps more precaution than necessary at this stage, but the sentiment is right. Be prepared. Flash flooding is a genuine concern with this setup. The storms will be slow moving in some areas due to the steering currents. When you get a thunderstorm dumping 80 to 100 millimetres of rain in an hour or two over urban areas like Brisbane or the Gold Coast, drainage systems can cope. Roads flood quickly. If you're in a flood-prone area, drive through floodwater. If it's flooded, forget it. That's the SES motto, and it exists for a reason. People die every year thinking they can make it through. Their vehicle stalls, water rises, they re-trapped. To be that person. For those with properties in known flood zones, clear your gutters and drains now while you've got time. Make sure your sump pumps are working if you've got them. Move valuable items off the ground floor if flooding is a historical issue at your place. By Tuesday, the system begins to shift. The tropical low is expected to track south or southeastward. This brings the severe weather threat into northern New South Wales. The Hunter Valley, Central Coast and potentially the Sydney metropolitan area come into the firing line Tuesday into Wednesday for New South Wales. Heavy rainfall becomes the primary concern as the system moves south. The severe thunderstorm threat diminishes somewhat, but widespread rain and potential flooding increase. Rainfall totals for coastal New South Wales Tuesday through Thursday, 100 to 200 millimetres is likely across the ranges and coastal areas. Some models are suggesting isolated areas could approach 300 millimetres if the low stalls near the coast. Sydney S already waiting for rain. The catchments need it, the dams are getting low, but you want steady rain over days, not a deluge in hours. The difference between beneficial rain and damaging floods often comes down to intensity and duration. For those in Newcastle and the Hunter region, keep a close eye on river levels if we start seeing these rainfall totals. The Hunter River can rise quickly with heavy catchment rainfall. By Thursday into Friday, the system should be weakening as it moves further south or offshore. The rainfall eases across most areas, though Tasmania and eastern Victoria might still see some showers as the remnants of the system interact with a cold front approaching from the west. Now, let us put this in historical perspective because many of you have long memories and have seen significant weather events before. This developing system reached the intensity of the major East Coast lows that have impacted New South Wales and Queensland over the decades. It's not in the same league as the 2022 Eastern Australia floods that devastated communities across Brisbane, Lismore and the Northern Rivers, but it is also not a minor system that you can ignore. It sits somewhere in between. Significant enough to cause localised damage, flash flooding and disruption. Not catastrophic on a statewide scale, but potentially serious for specific localities that cop the worst of the storms. Many of you remember the 1999 Sydney hailstorm, April 14th, baseball-sized hail, $1.7 billion in damage. That was an extreme supercell event. The current setup has potential for severe hail, but the atmospheric profile isn't quite as conducive to the monster hail that event produced. What we're more likely looking at is a multi-day severe weather event with numerous thunderstorms, some severe, producing localised impacts. The cumulative effect across several days is what makes this notable. Let me address the specific concern about cyclone development. The tropical low that is forming is not expected to reach cyclone intensity. The Bureau's current assessment does not include cyclone warnings for this system. For those asking about impacts on Christmas Island or Cocos Islands, this system is too far south and east to affect those territories. They in the Indian Ocean, well removed from this Coral Sea and Queensland coast system. Right, let us talk about practical preparations because that is what matters when severe weather is forecast. For southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales residents, secure loose items around your property. Outdoor furniture, trampolines, potted plants. Anything that can become a projectile in strong winds needs to be tied down or brought inside. In severe thunderstorm wind gusts, these items can cause significant damage. Check your emergency kit. Torch with fresh batteries, battery-powered or hand-crank radio, first aid supplies, enough water and non-perishable food for a few days in case of power outages, mobile phone charged, and if you've got a power bank, charge that too. Know your home's vulnerable points. If you've got skylights, they can be susceptible to hail damage. You can to prevent it, but knowing where the risk is helps you respond if damage occurs. Document your property as current condition with photos. If you need to make an insurance claim, Having before and after evidence makes the process smoother. For those with livestock or hobby farms, get animals into sheltered areas before storms hit. Large hail can injure or kill animals caught in the open. Make sure water troughs are full in case power goes out and you can T-pump. If you've got vehicles, consider covered parking if available. Hail damage to cars is expensive and often totals older vehicles. Stay informed through official sources, the Bureau of Meteorology website and app, local ABC radio, state emergency service updates. Don't rely on social media rumours or unverified reports. When severe thunderstorm warnings are issued, they retime critical. You might have 15 to 30 minutes warning before a storm hits. That is not much time. Have a plan now for where you'll shelter. The safest place during a severe thunderstorm is inside, away from windows. An internal room or hallway is best. Bathrooms can work well because they typically have fewer windows and the plumbing provides some structural strength. Avoid using corded phones or electrical appliances during thunderstorms. Lightning can travel through wiring. Mobile phones are fine. If you record outside when a storm hits, get to shelter immediately. A car is better than nothing, but avoid touching metal surfaces inside. If you are genuinely stuck in the open with no shelter and a storm is overhead, crouch low but done to lie flat. Being the tallest object in an open field during a thunderstorm is about the worst position you can be in. For those in flood-prone areas specifically, have an evacuation plan. Know your evacuation routes. If authorities issue evacuation orders, go. Don't wait to see how bad it gets. By the time you can see it's bad, roads might already be cut. I know the phrase gets repeated, but it's worth saying again. If it's flooded, forget it. 6 inches of fast-flowing water can knock you off your feet. 2 feet can float a car. It doesn't take much. Now, a word on community responsibility. Check on your neighbours, particularly elderly folks living alone. A quick knock to ask if they re-prepared can make a difference. Many older Australians are stoic and want to ask for help even when they need it. If you've got mates in remote areas or out bush, give them a call. Make sure they have heard the forecast and are prepared. Phone and internet can drop out in severe weather, so touch base before it hits. For those dealing with the current heat and humidity across Queensland, stay hydrated. It's easy to underestimate how much water you need in humid conditions. You're re-sweating constantly, even if you don't feel wet. Drink more than you think you need. If you're re-working outside, pace yourself. Heat stress and heat stroke are serious. The combination of high temperatures and humidity makes it hard for your body to cool itself through sweating. Take regular breaks in shade or air conditioning. Look after your pets. Make sure they've got access to water and shade. Dogs and cats can regulate temperature as well as humans. They rely on you to keep them safe. Let me touch on the forecast models specifically because understanding model uncertainty helps set realistic expectations. The Access model, which is the Bureau-S primary model, shows the tropical low developing Monday off the central Queensland coast, then tracking south-southeast towards the northern New South Wales coast by Tuesday and Wednesday. The GFS model, the American Global Model, shows similar timing but positions the low slightly further offshore. This would reduce rainfall totals on the coast but could maintain severe thunderstorm potential for longer. The European model splits the difference. It shows the low developing further north but tracking closer to the coast as it moves south. What this tells us is that the overall pattern is consistent across models. A tropical low develops, brings severe weather to Queensland and New South Wales, then moves south or offshore. The uncertainty is in the precise location and timing. For practical purposes, this means don't fixate on whether the heaviest rain will be at your exact location. The entire eastern Queensland and northern New South Wales region is in the potential impact zone. Prepare as if you'll be affected, and if the system tracks slightly differently and you miss the worst, that is a good outcome. Model forecasts beyond 3 days get increasingly uncertain. By the time we're re-looking at Friday and the weekend, there is enough spread in the models that specific predictions aren't reliable. We can talk about general patterns but not specifics. Some of you have already experienced significant rainfall this week. One viewer in the Sydney metro area mentioned rain from Saturday morning through to Sunday, with another 1 millimetre or so expected tomorrow and Thursday. That separate from this developing Queensland system. That is a different weather pattern. The system we're refocusing on is the tropical low that hasn't fully developed yet. That S, the one bringing severe weather potential to Queensland first, then New South Wales. For those in the Imbil area of Queensland and across the Wide Bay region, you're right in the zone for Monday's severe thunderstorm potential. This is your area of concern. Inland storms on Saturday and Sunday will give you a preview, but Monday is when the shear and moisture come together for the most organised severe weather. Toowoomba and the Darling Downs, you're also in the firing line for Monday. The escarpment can enhance thunderstorm activity. Localised flash flooding in gullies and creek lines is possible with slow-moving storms. Western Queensland stays mostly dry through this event. The system is focused on the coast and adjacent inland areas. If you're in the Channel Country or out towards the border with South Australia and the Northern Territory, this doesn't impact you directly. Victoria and South Australia, you are watching from the sidelines on this one. Some cloud and maybe isolated showers at the tail end of the week as the system S remnants move through, but nothing significant. Tasmania, you've been cold. Frost this morning in some northern areas, that continues. The system to your north doesn't bring you heavy rain. Maybe some showers late week, but the main impacts are well to your north. Western Australia and the Northern Territory, completely separate weather patterns. This Coral Sea low doesn't affect you. Western Australia, you've been dry for months. Nothing in this forecast changes that, unfortunately. You're re-waiting for fronts from the west and they not showing up in the models yet. The timing I've outlined is based on the current model consensus. Weather forecasts can and do change as we get closer to the event and more data comes in. I'll be monitoring this closely and will update if significant changes occur in the forecast. Things that could change. The intensity of the tropical low could be stronger or weaker than currently forecast. A stronger low means more widespread severe weather and heavier rainfall. A weaker low means isolated storms rather than widespread severe weather. The track could shift further north or south. A northward shift puts more focus on central Queensland. A southward shift brings earlier impacts to southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales. The timing could speed up or slow down. The models have been consistent on general timing, but a 12-hour shift either way changes which day specific areas see the worst conditions. Your job isn't to predict every detail. That's what the Bureau of Meteorology does, and they'll update warnings as the event unfolds. Your job is to be prepared for severe weather across the Monday to Wednesday period if you are in the impact zone. That means preparations done by Sunday night. Don't wait until Monday morning when storms are already developing. For those who have been through severe weather before, you know the routine. For those who haven't, it's not about panicking, it's about being ready. Most severe thunderstorms pass in 30 to 60 minutes. The damage they cause is often localised. But if you're in that localised area, it's everything. One final point on community resilience. Australia has excellent emergency services, the SES, fire services, ambulance, police. They respond when called, but in a widespread severe weather event, they re-stretch thin. It might take hours for help to arrive if you are not in immediate life-threatening danger. The more prepared you are, the less you need them. And that means they can focus on people in genuine emergencies. Self-reliance in the first hours after severe weather is important. Simple things matter. Having a torch means you not fumbling in the dark if power goes out. Having water means you not worried if the supply is disrupted. Having a battery radio means you get updates even if the mobile network is congested. These preparations aren't dramatic. They're boring and practical, but they what actually helps when things go wrong. All right, let's wrap this up. A developing tropical low off Queensland, severe thunderstorm potential Monday across southeast Queensland and the Gold Coast. Heavy rainfall Tuesday and Wednesday for northern New South Wales. Flash flooding possible, localised damage from hail and wind in severe storms. This is a significant weather event, but keep it in perspective. You've seen worse. Cyclone Tracy destroyed Darwin. Black Saturday killed 173 people. The 2011 Queensland floods devastated Brisbane. This isn't to that scale, but it's still worth taking seriously. Be prepared, look after your mates and neighbours, follow official warnings, don't take unnecessary risks. The Bureau will issue updated warnings as this develops. Check their website regularly. If you're in a warning area, read the warning. It tells you specifically what to expect and when. And if this forecast changes significantly, if the models shift or the low behaves differently than expected, I'll update. Weather forecasting isn't perfect. We do our best with the data we have, but nature doesn't always follow the script. Stay safe, be smart, and we'll get